right, man. Welcome to Kraken&Cutter's No Shoes, No Job, No Problem podcast. Today we got Robert Griner in here with us, a.k.a. Dick Skinner, a.k.a. Old Man Skinner, a.k.a. just Skinner, man. Nobody knows him as Robert Griner. We all know him as Skinner.
And we've made fun of him a time or two on the radio.
We have, for sure.
Yes.
So,
it's the love.
Yeah, it is.
The love, really.
It is. I enjoyed it, though.
The best part about Skinner is he's the longest relationship I've literally ever had in my life. I've been with this man longer than my parents, been with this man longer than any of my three wives. Not like he's just been my partner. Well, not that kind of partner.
Your partner.
No, you know what I'm saying.
I am comfortable with that. We are in a new time, new generation of life.
We weren't that kind of partner.
No, not that kind.
If that's the partnership you want,
he's been my dive master for the last 28 years.
Oh, is that what you call it? Dive master.
We'll do the ride and dive. That's about as far as we're going to go.
So you're the dive master.
That's it. Oh, man. So we wanted to get Skinner in here and talk about some of the crazy stuff we've had going on over the last 28 years of diving, cruising, craziness. If nothing else, the dive shop. Holy cow, is that not a crazy place to be? And,
it's a vortex.
It's Ashley Street.
It literally is. It's a vortex. We always talked about it like that because there's things that happen at a dive shop that just don't happen in real life.
No. Stuff that you're just like, there's no way that really happened.
Yeah.
But you see it. So,
Like the Bum J.
Bum J was a good example. We've had dudes right after 9/11. Holy cow, it went absolutely insane right after 9/11. Had a dude come in one day and he was just like, "Hey man, you got any bulletproof vests for my kids?" Well, I'm like, "Dude, we're a scuba diving shop." He's like, "Well, you got to watch out for those alligators." And I was like, "An alligator?" I was like, "Is that like a female alligator?" And he's like, "You know what I'm talking about?" It's just crazy, man. From people bringing up guns, trying to shoot us, to just, you couldn't even, the craziness. People talking to themselves. But anyway, so we're going to tell some stories of the dive shop, some stories of diving, and some stories of just absolutely insanity today. Stuff that people wouldn't think's real.
The best dive shop story that always comes to mind. And me and Dave were sitting in there one afternoon. I was hanging out with him, and we're sitting at the counter. The counter used to be up front, and where the skateboards are, that was just where that counter was still there. And we were sitting there one day, and this old man walked in. He was 80 something. Wearing a suit, very well dressed, gray hair guy, walks in and walks over, doesn't seem to speak to us, walks over to the counter. He reaches in his pocket, he pulls out and unfolds a piece of paper and lays it down. He reaches in there and pulls out a pen, and he just starts writing. And me and Dave were just sitting there watching him like, what's he doing? He sat there for 15 minutes, right? He got done, he folded up a piece of paper, stuck it in his pocket, stuck the pen back in his pocket, and walked out the door. You know what the problem with it was? There was no paper and pen.
There was no pencil.
I kid you not.
No paper.
There was nothing there. And we just watched this and like, did this just really happen? He never spoke it, never said a word. Was he a ghost? I have no idea. But this just happened.
That's what I'm saying.
About, like, me and him just looked at each other and said, what was that?
I still think to this day it was a ghost. I don't think it was a person.
It's like an X-Files episode.
Dude.
It was the most bizarre thing you've ever seen.
I mean, it's like hair on your arm standing up top stuff, and you're just like,
it was just...
Are we seeing this guy? But like literally, nothing. He unfolded it.
But he folded, nothing. Nothing. I'm talking about, okay, that was like bizarre. Back in the day, back when Cootie was alive, we lost a good kid that worked for us, worked for Dave, and but him and Dave used to have a competition. Back in years ago, mullets were a big thing.
Oh yeah.
And so they had a competition on who could touch the most mullets that came in the dive shop door,
or anywhere. It didn't matter where we were at.
This did include anywhere.
Cruise ships, wherever, it didn't matter.
So but Cootie was a young kid. He was 14, 15 years old. And of course, Dave was not a dainty little feller. So when somebody would come in the door, Cootie would jump the counter and go. Now you had to touch it without them knowing.
Yeah.
So Cootie would just walk up behind him and act like they were doing something. He reached up, touched the hair, and he got a point. He was smoking Dave's ass because Dave couldn't clear the counter.
No, I couldn't get over the counter quick enough, man. Too much sex appeal to get over the counter. You know what I mean?
Yeah, totally.
But we were on a cruise one time. Of course, they were still in competition, and there was a guy that came on there. And you swore to God he was wearing a raccoon on his head. It was his hair. It was a coonskin mullet. I'd never seen anything like it.
Just like Daniel Boone.
Well, they immediately hone in on this guy. We're trying to get in the elevator. And they were all over it. And the guys like jumping around, looking at them and saying, like, what are they trying to do? And they're looking around doing nothing. And he would turn, and all of a sudden they reach up, touch her, and he'd turn around and look at him. And I'm over there dying. I was like, okay, that was, I mean, I think one of them actually did get touched. I'm not sure.
Ghetto touched it.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think Ghetto touched it.
This poor guy was in terror that they were going to molest him or something because he didn't know why these guys were piled up around him. It was definitely different.
Could you imagine a week of on a cruise ship and you got like 6 of us following you everywhere you go?
Yeah, touch that mullet. They're going to touch his hair to get that point. They wanted that point. So.
Why do you guys keep showing up everywhere I go?
Could you imagine? I just thought about it like a few years ago. I was like, could you imagine being that guy on the cruise and there's like my big ass and Ghetto's who's just as big as me, Matt Monroe walking around, and we're just chasing you around trying to touch your mullet. You know what I'm saying? It's just...
And you know the guy's in there with his wife going, I swear.
She was there. She was there with him. And he wasn't. I sat there and watched it out. I'm dying. I'm like, this guy has no idea that they're just trying to touch his hair without him knowing.
Oh yeah,
it was definitely different.
But the whole shenanigans started what 1996, late 1996.
Yeah.
We were doing some dives, and we had a bus that went around the dive shop and broke down, and Ed wound up somehow in California doing something or another. The guy that used to own the dive shop, and then we were diving at Panama City, and had Timmy Cumbus and a couple other guys that were diving with me all the time, Dale Blanchard, and ran into Skinner down there. And then from there, we just figured out we could shoot fish, have fun, and started taking trips all over the place, man. Back then, you could get on the bus for like $250 and head 3 days to Key West and stuff like that, and.
It was a good time back then.
Yeah, way before.
I wish it'd come back like that. It was a great time.
That was before Biden got in there and decided to hike our prices up on everything.
Yeah.
But
economy, everything.
Nonetheless, so that's how it all started, man. Start shooting fish, and then we go out and do a bunch of spearfishing, man. And when you get out there and spearfish, and you'd see stuff like giant animals in the water. You think you're like numero uno in the water? No, sir. You ain't.
Yeah, a lot of sharks, it was changed over the years because years ago, we've been shooting out there for 30 years, I guess, with Dave. And I started shooting the Carabel area in Panacea area with Tim Tillman. And me and Dave went out there with him. His dad had a place down there. We'd go out with him. It was always funny because their boat had a nice boat. But by the time we put all of us on there, it was too much weight. So me and Dave had to sit on front. We could have just used Dave. But I got up there with him just so we get the boat to go back on a plane. So anyway, we go out there and shoot fish. But back then, it was the crazy. There was literally the grouper population, the red snapper population, all the fish were so plentiful. It was unbelievable how many fish were there. And then over the years, they changed different rules. And really they didn't change a lot, but what they've done, they haven't changed them since then. And the Goliath population has really taken over, and it's devastating the reefs. You know, back then you could do a dive and you might see a Goliath, maybe, you know, when you're down there. Now we went just the other day, went down there, and it's nothing to see 20. And these are 400-pound fish. It takes a lot to feed a 400-pound fish. And
well, didn't they you couldn't shoot them, right?
You can't shoot them.
No, they're
protect.
But are they still protect? I thought they opened it up again.
They're doing a lottery. From
Okay.
what I'm told, they got a lottery on, and they can only be a certain size though. You can only shoot a fish that's under 50 pounds.
Yeah.
Well,
I ain't seen one of them under 50
yeah,
in a minute.
very seldom do you ever see a Goliath that's under 50 pounds. There's a lot of the 200 to 400, and some are bigger. Now I saw one down in West Palm one time, and it was the size of a Volkswagen car. That was the scariest thing I ever seen. Wasn't dangerous, but that was the biggest Goliath I'd ever seen.
You're talking about a fish that's as big as for me.
Oh,
here,
yeah.
you know?
It was unbelievable. And the shark population has exploded. Back those days, you could dive some of the sharkiest areas we have down there now, which are the McCullough areas and places like that. You could dive those areas, and you could do 2 dives on the what we call it's boat molds and bridge rubble. And you might, after 2 hours diving on the second dive, you might see a shark.
Yeah.
And it's not going to be near you. It's just going to be kind of off in the distance. Now, when you hit the bottom, or maybe before you get out of the boat, the sharks are at the boat, or when you hit the bottom, the sharks are sitting there waiting on you. Now, they're not wanting you. they're waiting for you to go shoot them some food, and they're going to take it from you.
Yeah.
So, but the whole time you're wondering, okay, if I don't get them any food, I mean, are they going to eat my ass? So, and they do become, they, it gets pretty bad. We usually, when it was 1 or 2, you can kind of just push them off of it. And you got bulls, you got sandbars, lemons. Every now and then, I'll tell you a story in a minute about a hammerhead that Dave, I almost died watching Dave. But it's got to the point now.
And tigers
the tigers have got in there real bad. And literally, there's no way to shoot fish. You have to go into, you have to get away from what we call the shark areas. You have to go out to the live bottom area, and you're still going to deal with sharks. It's not going to be the 5 and 6. And it's sort of like, a shark is sort of like a dog. When there's one shark, he's not really aggressive. He follows around just in the area and just follows you around. Second shark, okay, they get a little bit closer because they're competing for food. By the time the 4th or 5th one's there, okay, they're on you. I mean, if you have fish on you, okay, it's over. I mean, it's not happening. I mean, I've had me and Dave, Tim Tillman, and there was a big group, 11 of us. Harry Bodrin was even on that one. And we went down, and we were on Bryson. And we got hit the bottom, and there were sharks everywhere. I mean, we had video of sharks over our head, hammerheads. There was everything there. And I think we counted 11 altogether. And when I started shooting fish, I'd shot grouper. I mean, right there amongst the sharks, we were shooting fish. Well, everything was fine up till I had one on my side, and I shot another one. And when I reached over, I had the fish's tail in one hand, I had the spear in the other hand, and I looked over off 10, 15 feet away from me, and the bull shark, I watched him. He was like a torpedo. He's come around, and he turned to come straight at me. And he was coming right, and I had the fish like this. And when he got right to my hand, I just turned and reduced the fish, and he grabbed it and took off. And I held the gun and went and go. It's got a cord hook to it. He just snatched the fish right off there. Well, I still had the other fish on me. So I knew at this point what's fixing to go down. So I just reached over and put the spear back in the gun. And we carry power heads with us down there because it's dangerous. The sharks are if they get real bad, we have to defend ourselves. So I just put that power head on. Sure as world, he ate that, and here he comes, charging straight at me. And I just held the gun out. And he ran right over, and he ran right into the end of it, and it blew him up. I'm talking about I said, well, I guess it's time to get out of the water. It'll run the sharks off for a few minutes, but by this time there's blood in the water, the blood from the fish. They've already gone into a little frenzy.
The shark's done got his head blown off.
So it gets a little weird. So you just get out of the water. But it was really cool up to that point. But the bet. I never forget this, and Dave's a big guy. And we were out there. I had an old Bayliner boat. It was me and Dave and Mark Gaskins, and we were out there, and we were on K Tower.
K Tower, yep.
And we had been, and I had a whole string. I mean, I had 100 pounds of fish on my side. It was a good day of shooting, and we come around, and there's a piece of, I don't even know what it is, big piece of metal that sits at about 6-8 foot high and 10 feet long, and this big square piece of metal sits off the wreck, probably about 50 feet out. And I got out there, and I was sitting right between that piece of metal and the structure, which is what do you think that is?
It's about 25 square, I would say. 25 by 25 by 25.
You think I thought it was bigger than that, but
that damn shark was about the size of the whole damn thing, man. So
it may be 30 foot. It's the base of that tower. So anyway, we were down there, and we were shooting the fish, and I was sitting on the sand, and I just caught something moving off the side behind that piece of metal, and I looked up, and I saw the biggest shark I'd ever seen in my life, and I didn't even see the front of him. When sharks are down there, they can the water's real murky down there.
Yeah.
And they kind of blend in. As they go into the murk, they kind of disappear. So I thought I saw the back end of a shark, and I didn't even see his dorsal fin. I saw 10 feet of shark. His tail was over 6 feet tall. And I'm thinking that's got to be a great white. I said, there's nothing there that could be that big. And I'm thinking we're going to die. And I reached over and I put the power hat on and I had all this fish on my side. And I just sat there frozen and scared to take off because I figured it'd chase me down. And I sat there waiting to see if it'd come back at me. And sure enough,
you got that space. You got 50 feet,
yeah,
50, 60
I still
feet.
I still got to go all the way back to the tower and then come around because I knew where the line was. But I sat there, and it circled back, and it came up, and it was a hammerhead. It was every bit of 20 foot if it was an inch. And they actually got it, filmed it a little bit later on the same spot.
Yeah, greater hammerhead.
But I'm sitting, and they verified it was that big, and I'm sitting there. I saw this thing, and he came right off the side of me, and stayed about 15, 20 feet right off my side, and I'm watching, and I got holding the power head, and it's speared on the power head, and I got take this fish off my side because I'm fixing to throw the whole thing, and I swim back over to that concrete wall, and I come up and I come around the side, and that shark, he's still right beside me. It don't even look like he's trying. He's just I'm swimming. He's just barely moving. And he's sitting right beside me. When I came around that corner, right at the anchor line, Dave has got this giant grouper down there. And I'm talking about, he's fighting this thing. He's rolling. It's that blood's going everywhere. And I'm dying, like, okay, we're going to die right now. All the excitement going on. And I'm talking about, like, okay, this is going to be, and I'm sitting there watching this thing. I swim over to Dave, and Dave gets finally gets the fish under control. And I'm sitting there watching that shark, and he's sitting right over. He's about 20 feet off back, and he just keeps on moving. By the time Dave gets the fish on there, I tell Dave I assigned big shark, and I'm not that. I'm not really scared of sharks. Dave, he has a lot more fear of sharks, especially when we're spearfishing. But I told him and he said, yeah. I said no.
But I already seen sharks that day. I was like, whatever.
I said, big shark out. And when I said out, he said, oh, hell yeah. If you're saying out of here, we're out of here.
Oh, yeah.
So we hit the surface.
Well, we hit the safety stop first. We're like going up.
Yeah, we have to go.
We looked at the safety stop, and I'm like, no.
I'm looking, waiting for this thing to come eat us. He has no idea other than the fact I couldn't tell him.
No, my head was in the thing. I was like,
we're looking at it. And finally, we hit the surface. And Dave said, what is it? I said, Dave, there's a 20-foot hammerhead that was right beside us, down there where you find that fish.
Never saw it.
I look up. Dave is standing in the boat. I said, how the hell did you do that? I'm talking about like, whoop, boom. He jumped over the side of the boat. I'm talking about all the way up in the boat. He said, you got to get out of the water. I said, how the hell did you do that? I said, this big guy jumped out of there.
Motivation.
Well, I mean, you ever seen like the whales when they breach?
Yeah.
That's what I did. I breached.
He breached that baby. I'm like,
well, there was
over the side end of the boat. He's like, you better get out of the water.
Well, there was a platform that was about water level, right? And all I remember is kick on the platform in the boat.
And so we get up there, and of course, Mark is still down.
Shamu ain't got nothing.
We never, because we don't spearfish. When you're spearfishing, you're alone. There's nobody around. And so we're sitting there, and we take the fish off. And then we debate on whether we go back down, whether we wait for him, do we wait for the blood to start boiling at the surface where the shark's eating him?
Oh, we had this whole conversation.
And, I mean,
what are we going to do?
We're
get pieces of his body?
Boat, we're revving the engine.
Oh no, that's the way. We're having a whole conversation. We're like, what do we do with his body? Who do we call?
Yeah, I mean, because this is the biggest shark I've ever seen. This is not. I mean, he could eat you in just one gulp. And I'm thinking, like, I've never seen a shark this big ever. I know. So and we sat there, and finally he hit surface, and he says, "What is?" I said, "Get the hell out of the water." I said, "There's a damn 20-foot hammerhead circling that right." He never saw it either. I don't know whether it may have just sauntered off from him, but I mean, it definitely got your heart pumping.
The only thing I saw was,
but the fact that Dave breached that boat in a single lunge up into that boat was just like, how the hell did he do that?
It's magic.
Like a seal being chased by
dude.
Shamu.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. I was like, I've seen Shamu do this at SeaWorld. I got this.
Well, he did the same thing. We were in the Florida Keys, and it was the ex-wife, Amy. It was me and him and Amy and Corey Nowalski, and we were
and out. The Beck kid was there too.
But
somewhere around. Out there. Yeah, it was just us.
Out there. But where we stopped, we were out there, and it was late. We were lobstering, and we came back, and we were sitting there as we're swimming back. I had been running into there was sharks kept coming on me, and they were smaller sharks, nothing big.
They're a little bonnet head,
a little bonnet head
like
shark.
that.
And I'm swimming around. I said, damn. I said, look at that. I ran into a little guitar shark. I said, that's weird. So and it's right at dark, and I'm sitting there like, that's weird. I can't see without a light. You have to have a light. So I'm stopped, and I just get that feeling. I said, that's something. I was looking the way I'm going, and I just take the light, and I turn around behind me, and there was half a dozen sharks within 20 feet behind me, and they were like fanning, and what they were doing, they could smell the food on me, and I'm like, oh my God. Now I'm out there by myself at the time, and I stuck the light and just stuck it in the sand, and I looked around, and I could see, Dave always has them big lights. I could see it look like glow, the alien spacecraft over there coming out of the water. And I said, there they are right there. So I took off in a hard swim.
Well, in the meantime, though, while you're out there, we're sea turtles everywhere.
Yeah.
Just heads underneath the reef, like, oh shit, I don't want to be here. And we're like, why are the turtles just chilling out? Like they're hiding from something.
Yes.
And I'm like, what are they hiding from?
So I get over to him, and I'm looking around. I said, I don't see nothing. And they're sitting on this turtle. He's buried down in this hole. And
not even in the reef.
And I'm like,
he was like,
okay,
oh God, here we
we're
go.
sitting there looking at a turtle. And I watch Dave. He picks up and he looks at me, and all of a sudden he looks over me. He doesn't say nothing. He grabs Amy, his wife, doesn't grab me. He grabs her and just takes off in a full swim, dragging her through the water. I said, that's all I need to know. I said, I don't know what he's looking at or what he has seen, but we're out of here. Corey Walski don't question either.
No.
So we come back to the boat, and there's people going up the boat, go up the ladder. And so we hit the surface, and it says, what is it? He said, there was a hammer the same one, they got a picture of this one, 20-foot hammerhead, was sitting on my back.
Yeah, like his head was like above Skinner's
my
head.
back. Corey Nowalski, who goes up, and he's throwing people off the ladder.
This is a true story.
He threw people off the ladder, jumped them on dropped the weight belt, and ran up on the boat.
Fins up the ladder.
Yeah, the whole thing. And I threw the weight belt down there, and we told him, you got to go the way. He said, I'm not going back in the water. I said, you threw it. There were a lot of these people were like students.
Yeah, oh, no,
He threw everybody in the water getting out there. But Dave grabbed her and sacrificed me. And I'm like,
well, dude, the shark was behind you, like right here. And I was like, well, he's dead, so I don't want to be there too.
He grabbed
so
her.
We're going.
She looked like one of them rag dolls being dragged through the water. I said, that's all I need to know. I don't know what's going on. But we'll figure it out when we get back to the boat.
He had a whole basket full of lobster. And that big old shark was just like, where's all these lobster at? Because all you hear is...
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. Did we find out what it was?
Can I ask a quick question? Have either of you ever heard of fishing?
Yeah, but it's
not fun.
He did it one time.
I did one time.
He did it one time. And we did a overnight.
I went crazy fishing one time.
And we come out there, and we're actually on Exxon template.
Yeah.
And they got in there, and they had rod and reels, and they gave him one. And he went in there and started. What were you catching? Mangrove?
Mangroves like crazy, and then
he
sharks.
And I'll bet he had to catch 100.
Oh yeah.
He kept pulling
all night long. I was like, damn, this is cool. This is fishing.
He kept on and kept on and kept on. I said, damn, he don't like fishing. He did catch one.
Called a shark, black tip reef shark.
Yeah,
or something.
black tip reef shark. He did pull that up out of there. That one took a while to get up, but that's the only time we've ever.
That's literally the only time I ever saltwater fish.
Yeah, that's all. We used to.
I got enough of it that one time. I was like, you know what?
Well, yeah, I mean,
it's so much more fun to shoot.
I see the guys out there all the time, and they're sitting up on top. They have no clue what's down there, if anything's down there. You see, even on your plotters and your machines, you'll see fish, but that doesn't mean it's a game fish. That don't mean it's a red snapper. That don't mean it's groovy. You're just seeing bait balls, or you're seeing things. Now, usually if there's bait balls, you're going to find fish and stuff like that, but sometimes they're not. And sometimes these guys will be, you think fish are out looking, searching for food. They're pretty much waiting for the food to come to them, because they're just hanging out under a ledge, and when something swims by, they'll go get it. I mean, when you're down there spearfishing, they'll be around the structures and they're just waiting for everything to come by. But you get off the wreck 50 feet, you ain't gonna catch nothing. Me and I think it was Amy Janie back in those days. We went out there, and we were in Panama City, and we were diving the strength, and I'm sitting there. I'm anchored to the wreck. I know I'm on it, and I came up, and there's two boats sitting over the side, and they're 100 feet off my side, and I'm sitting there like, what are they fishing? Because I mean, Panama City, you have wreck and
Nothing.
sand. There is nothing in it. We're sitting there, and I finally asked him. I said, "What are you guys fishing on?" He said, "We're on the strength." I said, "Dude, you ain't on the strength." I said, "Because I'm tied to the strength. I know I'm diving y'all out there." So they asked me. They said, "Would you mind us coming over there?" I said, "No, I don't mind." So this is what the difference is, and why you spearfishing to the record. So they pulled over right beside us, and they're literally. I mean, reach almost in their boat, and they're down there fishing. And they ain't catching nothing. And there was all kinds of Spanish mackerel and big schools of amberjack, about 25 feet off the bottom, hundreds of them.
And they just circled.
There was one school of red snapper, small, nothing legal. It was a ball of them, literally just a ball, and it sat in one spot off the one section of that wreck. No grouper of any size, because you down there, we looked, there's nothing there. So they come over there and they're fishing down there, and I said, "What are y'all trying to catch?" They said, "We just want to catch fish." And I said, "Well, there's nothing down there but this." I told her, "Let it hit the bottom." I said, "Reel up about 25 feet off the bottom." And they sat there for 20 minutes while we were doing a safety,
surface interval.
sitting out surface interval. Yeah. And, we were just killing time. And I said, "Bring it up about 25 feet off the bottom." And sure as it did, they were catching fish left and right. And all they were catching was amberjack and all. But that's the difference between spearfishing and fishing, because you see where the fish are. Yeah. You know what's down there. You may see fish on the finder, but that doesn't mean there's anything there. And whether there's fish even in the area or not, we go down just throughout the year, and you may go down there and you may go spearfishing, and you'll go out on the same area, and there won't be a single fish, not one. And you can go back 2 weeks later, and it looks like somebody opened the gate.
Yeah,
and
there's flooding them in there.
Thousands. But not necessarily like the grouper that used to be, but you'll have the mangrove will be in, and they all move into those areas. It's kind of weird. You can just move around like it. But even if you on diving, even if you didn't shoot anything, it was still a pretty dive.
Yeah.
You got dive shipwreck, you got dive reef. There's going to be still the sea turtles, and you're still going to see the ornamental fish, and it's relaxing. And I said David thing a while back that they were talking about diving was one of the most best hobbies for relaxation and mental health. And
that's why a lot of the PTSD police
it helps with
military doing it.
Helps just soothe you and keep. There's all kinds of diving. We do some diving we don't like doing. I mean, we do body recovery, do it as well with the sheriff's department. Yeah, and that sucks. But I mean, there's only a few people qualified to even really do that type of blackwater diving. Yeah. So, and nobody,
the only good part about that,
wants to do it. We don't want to do it, but you have to do what you got to do.
Yeah, it's like closure for a family. You know what I mean? So it's not wondering where they're at somewhere. So yeah, it sucks. That's no fun.
Now, is the sharks? Can you harvest them, or are they?
No.
Is this why they're exploding in population?
Oh, they're massive too. It's bad
you're not allowed to. You're not allowed to catch them, keep them, nothing.
You are allowed to defend yourself though. So we wear what's called a shark shield, and I swear shark shields used to work, but nowadays I don't know if they work as much or if the sharks are just like don't care.
And I don't know, because I called Amanda, the lady that owns the Shark Shield company. I met her down in Tampa at St. Pete Open, and the first ones that we got from her were amazing. I mean, you could literally, a shark would come and get about 25 feet, and it would hit that field, and his butt would come over his head, and he would stop so fast. But now I'm swimming out the other day with a Shark Shield on, and the shark was between my legs. I mean, the Shark Shield's hanging on my leg. I mean, the shark's swimming right between my legs. And I don't know. We don't. Sharks are. People are always freaking out saying there's sharks going to eat them. The shark really don't care. If you ain't got no food, he's really not interested in you. I mean, there's a lot of things that happen. I've seen a lot of. There's been people bitten. Of course, they say 90% of shark attacks are less than 3 feet of water. Oh, yeah. Because the shark can't determine a flicker of you standing there in the surf, and he just bites whatever, and then he realizes it's not a fish and turns it loose. It doesn't say somebody was eating, but then you have some of these sharks that they've had attacks in other areas that people have been eaten or killed, and it's really hard to determine why that particular person was attacked when they had a lady that attacked over in Bahamas and killed her, and there were 20 divers on the bottom of the shark, and that was the shark that was interacting with people and didn't care. Yeah. But the one lady swimming around on top got bit, and it killed. So what the difference was, who knows?
I tell people all the time, man, when you're diving, the sharks are just there. Heck, we'll feed them in Jupiter and different places like that, and you can pet them. You can pet the sharks. They don't care one bit.
Yeah.
But it's like the shallow areas and swimming on the surface is where they find dead animals, dead food. And they don't know what it is. They think it's floundering.
They're beautiful to watch. I mean, if you just go and watch them, they're beautiful. Like we were in Cuba a while just the other day, and we had just
schools of what?
Sharks with us.
There were so many sharks in Cuba,
and they are just beautiful. They're right there with you. I mean, just right there against your hand. They don't care. You're just another fish to them.
There were so many sharks in Cuba that you were almost looking for something else to film.
Yeah.
Because you're like, all right, I videoed 700 sharks today, so let me go over here and find, but it was just amazing.
Yeah, the water's crystal clear, just beautiful diving out there. We were in the Queen's Garden. King's Garden? What?
Queen's Gardens.
Queen's Garden.
Yeah, it was, the Queen's Gardens was originally, Jacques Cousteau found it back when Castro was still involved, and Castro was a big scuba diver. So
that was his private area to dive in.
Yeah, so
they didn't let people go in there for years and years.
Yeah, it was just nobody but Jacques Cousteau and Castro dive in this area, and
now there's a wait list just to go in there.
Yeah, so it's crazy to be able to dive there. And as an American, we're not supposed to be in Cuba anyway, but you can get an educational visa and go in there, and that's what we did through the shop. So take a trip out there, and I don't know, there's probably 24 of us, I think, out there having a good time in Cuba. So that's one of the good things you can do about diving, playing with sharks, doing all that. They don't bother you, that sort of an environment. But
it's amazing.
Fishing, they might come visit you.
It's amazing the way. When you just recreational dive, and I know there's a lot of people that have had experiences, but when you're out there in just recreational diving, to the animals, you're just another fish. And as long as you're not a threat, they'll come right to you. It's nothing to have a sea turtle to come swim right up to you and I mean, literally hang out with you. Even like, I mean, I got a Nassau grouper that followed me around like a puppy dog and wanted you to scratch him on the neck. And I mean,
that was a Belize.
In the ocean. And I got a lot of video. I'll even give you that video. You'll love it. I mean, it's just to them, you're just another fish. And as long as you're not dangerous, they're curious and they're checking you out. And even the sharks will come over just to check you out and see what's going on.
But that Nassau would swim up to you and you'd scratch it like it was it was your dog coming up. You'd hug it and give it a kiss and just be like, And then hell, in Cuba, remember the big Goliath grouper that was about 400 pounds and I was feeding lobsters to?
Yes, and they tried to, He would follow us around.
I'd take a lobster off from under the reef and he'd look at me and I'd be like, and let go of it and he'd be like,
and you swim around and you didn't realize it. He scared shit out of you because you're swimming around and David and the diving master had been feeding them lobster. We didn't know it. And you're looking at lobster in a hole. And when you went down to the bottom, the Goliath would go down there with you, and he's looking because he thinks you're going to pull it out for him. So you're literally he's trying to push his way into where that lobster is. So
I've been feeding him for like the last half an hour. Yeah. Everybody else come in there afterwards, and they're like, "There's this big old grouper." It's just like, I mean, you got a picture of my face and him. We're just like. He's looking like, come on, man, give me another one.
Yeah, I had you don't really hardly ever have problems with the nurse sharks, but we were lobstering this last year, and we got down there and I was pulling lobster out from the reef, and the nurse shark came up on my side, and he's sitting there about 8 foot long. He was sitting there watching me, and when I pulled them lobster out, he just run over and grabbed the net, the net I'm scooping up in, and grabbed the net, and I'm sitting there like, he got the lobster, grabbed it, and when I got done, all I had was the ring. He he ate the whole thing. And I said, well, that's the end of the lobster, because I had no way. I mean, so he followed me all the way back to the boat, and of course I had lobster in a bag, but he can't see him in the bag. He could see him in that net. He knew he had some. He was just looking to see if he could get another free meal, but.
You got to tell them the greatest nurse shark story ever. The one that almost bit you in the wiener.
Yeah, that's probably 20 years ago. We got down there and we were bad. We'd go out and catch, a 2, 3 foot, 4 foot, Nerf shark, and shows us we just reached out. They're laying there. You just reach down and pick them up and
flip them over.
You
and they go to
flip
sleep.
them over. But I got one, and I had him from the tail to the back of the head, and I was letting the people touch him and look at him and see what it was. And I had him for a few minutes. And this shows you how smart a shark is. You think sharks are dumb, they smart as hell. But I'm sitting there, and I got done, showing everybody, and I just I turned him loose. And he swam out and got about 15 feet away from me. And he turned right around and he just looked straight at me. And I'm standing there on the bottom. And he's just turns and in a full swim, swims over and hits me right in the chest and is just thrashing. So I just reached out and just put, I ain't worried about him biting me, but and I just pushed him down and he's thrashing, and then all of a sudden he goes back over and gets about 10, 15 feet and turns and looks at me again. And when he gets over there, he spits out a piece of black. And I'm like, what the hell is that?
Now watching this is hilarious because it's
so
like hits him in the chest and Skinner's like, "Whoa, get off me!"
I just pushed him down, and of course he swims back over, turned around and looked at me and spit that black at me. And I'm like, okay, what is that? So I swam over and I got it. I said, well, that's neoprene. And I said, where did you get neoprene from? So when I got back to the boat, he had bit a hole right there in the crotch of my wetsuit. Look here, I'm not talking like this. A perfect hole about that big right there in that wetsuit. I took and put Aqua Seal on it and put the piece back in there. But he looked at me and spit it back at me.
Yeah,
and then swam off. He said, "Gosh, you're right."
He was right in the nut, man.
It was like, I said, "I'm glad I was wearing a wetsuit because it was a bad day." I mean,
man, forever, man. We're like, remember that shark bit you in the nut?
That would have been a 911 call. Want to hear. Yes.
Dude, because sometimes they'll get stuck. Could you imagine you get stuck on your ball?
Yeah. It would have been bad day.
You're not going to believe this one. Yeah.
What were you doing with that shark? I was in a wetsuit, sir. I promise you.
It would have been a bad day. It was. But we've had a lot of people quit. My wife quit sport fishing. She won't sport fish anymore because the sharks and Goliath got so bad. I actually got knocked unconscious. This last year, I had a Goliath hit me. She was with me. Thank goodness she was with me. And on this particular dive, this was about the weekend that she quit. But see, I was out there with Cody, another guy that dives with him. Him and his wife were diving too, and they were sport fishing. And we were on the what's that out in Carabel? I can't remember the name. I'll remember it in a minute. But we were down there diving, and I shot a couple of grouper, had them on the stream, and I was sitting there, and we were watching the Goliath because they'll come around, but you can't really see all the time because there's bridge rubble and things like that, and they'll get on the other side of it. And so I'm just swimming along, and out of the blue, all I saw was a flash, and he came out from under that rubble and hit them fish that were hanging down on that stringer that's hooked to my side right here. And he hit the fish, and when he did, he turned and he hit me in the side of the face with his tail. Well, I went black. I mean, it masked me on, and I rolled back. And when I opened my eyes, when I finally whether I was unconscious or not, to me, I was unconscious because I'm black. I'm laying there, and when I opened my eyes, I said, well, I'm not dead, and I'm still breathing. I said, but I couldn't see shit because mask was on. And I could see the silhouette of my wife. I could see her over me, the salt I couldn't see. And so I said, where's my mask? And she picked it up for me. It was 5-6 feet away from me, picked it, put it back on. And I'm talking about, I felt like I'd been hit with a 2 before. And his tail hit me in the face. And she was sitting there holding him off. She had her gun, and she was holding that Goliath off of me while I was trying to get my sense. And then I told her, and I said, well, let's just, we'll keep going. And she like, you're out of your mind. We kept spear fishing. And she said, we just got a tag. You got knocked. You're knocked out. And I said, you just want to keep going. I said, well, hell, I'm away now. I said, let's keep going. We're 75 feet of water, And
stupidity grows on trees at his house. Yeah.
Yeah. So we kept on going. Got back. We did the next dive. We were on the same area. There was a bunch of rubble off to the side where we were diving on, and got down there, And I shot it. When I shot a fish, I shot a grouper. And no more time than I shot it, sharks came in from one side, Goliath came in from the other side, and the fish disappeared. And she said, hell no. She grabbed me and she said, we are out of here. I mean, it didn't even, they were sitting waiting for me to shoot something. And they just,
it's like
Yamaha.
Yeah, Yamaha. It's like the Smokey and the Bandit scene where the Canadian Mounties come from this side, the Texas guys come from this side, and Skinner's the bandit in the middle.
They all fought that fish and took it. And I said, yep, there's no sense in even trying. I said, there's no way we're going to get it. But Cody we were on the Yamaha at the same time that I got knocked out. Cody had one hit him. He had the fish in his hand, and it hit him in the chest and drove him into the wreck. He couldn't do the dive the rest of the day because he had hurt his back. He wasn't sure how bad he was hurt, but the tank and everything the fish had drove him into the side of the boat. Oh, yeah. And I said, so that should just, the Goliath had got so aggressive because of the, like I told them, we used to go down there and dive. And it was, I kid you not, you could see 300 grouper. I mean, keeper grouper, 24 inches up. Now, if you see, you might get 2.
Well, think about how many grouper of 24 inches it takes to feed a 400-pound Jewfish. Oh, yeah. And there's 20 of them.
And there's, I mean, we go back to the last time we dove on K-Tower. I what were there, 20, 50, 20? Yeah, I mean, they were just stacked up on there. You couldn't even bother. It wasn't even worth it. You just get out. You're never going to get to the surface because but it's just, even if you have fish on you, they'll grab you. Mike Poppet just dived with us, and he got drug off in the thing from K Tower. He'd shot amberjack, had it on his side. The thing had the Goliath came up and grabbed the stringer. The whole fish swallowed the fish. Now this is a 35-inch amberjack. Swallowed the entire fish and the stringer and dragging Mike through the water. Mike's a little guy, and dragging him through the water. And Mike's up there, and he's holding on to the stringer, and he's punching this Jewfish, trying to get him to turn it loose. And he's taking his knife, and he's stabbing, trying to get the fish, trying to get his fish back out of the knife. He ain't giving up his fish. So he's trying to get it back, and finally got this knife stuck in the gill plate, couldn't pull it out. And the fish turned loose, and he got his feet, he's pushing the fish, the Jewfish, off of the Goliath. Can't call him Jewfish anymore. Goliath. And you pulled it out of his mouth. And that thing chased him and followed him and housed him all the way back to the boat with a knife sticking out of the side of the gill plate. That's how crazy they are.
Yeah.
Dave got drug out.
Well, Clint and I was out there. It was on diving your boat. Clint and I were out there on a wreck, and I was I had like 900 pounds of air, so it's about time to go up. And I was like, I motioned to Clint. I was like, hey, I'm going to head up. So I started to head up, and a big old snapper come by, and I was like, oh, wait a minute, let me get that. So I shot the snapper, grabbed the spear, and next thing I know, Jewfish took me, arm, like swallowed my arm, swallowed the spear, and I was gone. You ever seen like somebody on a kite? I was just like, here I go. And we're going. And I'm like, holy shit, I gotta get this thing off of me. We're going. Finally, it comes off. It tore my wetsuit all to hell right through here. Come off, and I come up, and the boat's way over there.
He's out of air.
Yeah, I'm out of air at this point.
Because he was fixing to turn everything loose because he's out of air. He come up, he said it had no air.
I ran out of air at like 40 foot. I took my last breath at 40 foot. I was like, that's no more air.
And the thing drug him a football field, or probably 2 football fields. It was long. We had to go get him.
I popped up, and the boat looks like a dot, and I was like, oh.
And that thing had drug him all the way out there. And
Clint got on the boat, and Clint was like, where's Dave? Yeah, because Clint was down there for another 10 minutes, and I'm way out behind the boat going, hey!
He came up as a dot way off on the horizon. I said, dang. Then he said, that thing grabbed me and drove me all the way out there.
It just took me like I was nothing. I'm 300 pounds. It took me like I was an ounce.
Yeah, but when you see them come up, when these guys catch them, and they bring them up next to a boat, and they're, almost the size of the boat, you're going,
oh, yeah. I almost made another mistake like that. Remember the Exxon when I swam by and I didn't have a spear anymore?
Yeah,
that was that same trip I caught all these fish.
Yeah, that we come out and Dave amberjack. We were shooting amberjack, and Dave shoots at amberjack, and the Goliath comes in and takes the fish. And, Dave comes swimming by me, and his gun. He got the gun, but the cord's hanging down, no spear. And I said, "Where's the spear?" And he's like, whoa, 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 whoa. He's doing what the hell he's talking about.
I'm like,
I kid you not.
Right in my mouth.
Dave's on my right side. And right beside Dave, right beside him, is a 400-pound Goliath, and Dave's spear sticking out of his mouth like a toothpick. He's following Dave around. He's there, and he's got that. And I bust out laughing. I told Dave, I said, "There, I said, look right there," and it's sticking out like a tooth. He's holding a toothpick in his mouth. Now that shaft's this long, but you can only see about this much of it. Well, Dave figures he's going to get his shaft back.
I'm like, I'm going to get my shaft back.
It's 110 foot to the bottom of the Exxon.
Exxon is an old oil rig that they cut the top off of, so it's just the bottom of an oil rig in the middle of the ocean.
Yes.
So Dave turns, and he starts to go back over and come after the Goliath. Well, the Goliath turned and went towards the wreck. Well, when he got to the wreck, that thing was sticking out to the side. And when it got to where it was, it hit the side of the structure and drove into its throat. Let me tell you, it went toward hell. It just went
ballistic,
it went crashing, flashing, everything, and went down. And Dave looked at me, like going down, like he was going to go down there after it. And then he looked back at me. I said, "No, sir." I said, "First of all, if both of you go in that hole, they ain't room for one of you."
So the hole is the leg of the tower.
Yeah,
they cut it off, so it goes into the tower.
If it wants out, it's going to kill you coming by. It'd just run him over and kill him. It would have killed him if you tried. I said, "No, he just let it ride." I said, "But yeah, but we've had some
because Jurassic Park's what we call the Exxon, because it looks like everything there is like massive."
Yeah. Tim Tillman hung me out on the Exxon because we were shooting them amberjack, and we had some of those amberjack that were, they were massive.
80, 90 pounders.
They were, big. And you don't want
a 24-inch
amberjack and cobia are two fish that if you don't kill it when it first hits it, it's going to be a bad day. Especially if it's big, it's going to. If you've ever caught one on rod and reel, those guys will tell you it's a battle like you've never seen. Well, shooting one with a spear gun is the same thing. And there was one, they were schooling around, and Tillman comes over to me and he says, "Let's shoot one together." He said together. I said, "Okay." So I'm over there, and this thing comes swimming by, and we both go up like that. And I look at him, he says, "Yeah." When I pull the trigger, he chickens out. Well, guess what? Here we go. That thing takes me from right there about 30 foot on the top. We go to 110 in just a full dart. I'm dragging behind this thing. It's massive. It dragged me all the way to the bottom.
It's almost like a cartoon where you got your feet out, your fins are out, and you're just like cartoon skiing. You know what I mean? That's what it looks like.
And finally, after 10 minutes of fighting this fish, I finally get him subdued where I can get back up. I'm holding on. I got my legs wrapped around him. I'm stabbing him with a knife, and finally get him. He ain't dying, but I got him where I can control him, and I get back up to where I can. I'm in deco. I'm having to do safety stops, holding this fish still on the spear, still on the gun, and come back to the boat. And he said, I got about the boat. I said, "Tim, what?" He said, "I don't know. I got scared of it after I said we do it." I said, "Yeah, but you left my ass hanging." I said, "I almost died down there."
All right. So speaking of Tim Tillman, tell him about the time that the Fish and Wildlife decided to come hang out with us.
Yeah, we were in Panama City, and we were probably shot a couple fish too many. I'm not even sure at the time, but because there was
we ain't never shot a couple fish too many.
Well, maybe questionable gray area, but there were 6 of us on the boat. So anyway, we weren't sure at the time, and so whenever we got up, we were coming up, and we noticed there was another boat by the boat, and so immediately you know what's going on. So a lot of them just dropped the spear gun, dropped everything. But Dave comes up there, and he's a sexy beast, and he's wearing this little Speedo.
Yep, little green and blue Speedo, my man.
And the guy he's up there talking shit. So Dave comes up there, and he grabs this piece of watermelon, and he hikes his shorts way up high.
Oh yeah,
and
I pulled that
real short. And he comes up there, and
I pulled that Speedo into my butt
putting this
crack
watermelon in like something off of a.
It was Deliverance. If there ever was ever a scene for Deliverance,
it's a Deliverance scene. And he's eating this watermelon. It's running down his face, all down there,
all down my beard, my chest.
And he says, "I sure do like you. Why don't you come on the boat?" And he said, "Me and you come over here." And this guy looks at him, and you could see the fear in his eyes. He said, I think I'm being a gun. And he's by himself. He said, I'm fixing to get molested by a 400-pound man. And I'm just dying. He's got a short pull way up, and he's got his legs popped up on the side of this guy's boat. And Charlie said, come on over here with me. And then this guy says, I think y'all be fine.
Well, no, okay. So I'm on the boat. They're still down there, and I know we're not legal. I mean, we're not legal at all. I mean, let's not even kid. Guy pulls up. They're coming up, and I'm like, what am I going to do? I see him coming. I was like, watermelon. So I get the watermelon. I cut a big old slice of it. I mean, it's a big old slice of watermelon. And I'm like, all right, here we go. He pulls up. I hike those shorts up, like he said. I pulled my little Speedo up my butt crack, so I was wearing a thong, basically. And I was like, I just buried my face in the watermelon. So you got beard and watermelon juice. It's all down my chest like seeds. And I hike my leg up, and I look at that guy, and I'm like, hey, man, you look good in that uniform, son. And he was like, and I'm like, you want to come check me? And he was like,
The look on his face was priceless.
He might have never had that happen in his life before.
Marine Patrol, that was the most fear I'd ever seen. That guy says, hell no, I ain't getting on that boat for nothing. He just says, he said, I think y'all be fine. He said, y'all be careful. And
I just buried my head in the watermelon again. I was like, because I had my knife in this hand, watermelon in this hand. I was like, we'll see you later, baby.
Yeah.
This would have been a much better story if he would have come up out of the water and then the guy would have been like, oh, well, permission to come aboard, Captain? Then Skinner would be like, we're going to go back down underwater for a little bit longer.
Yeah, it was different. We go back in the water. Of course, some of the guys had just turned the stringers loose.
Stringer, gun, everything.
And we go back down on the bottom and...
Dale. It was Dale.
Well, who shot? Did you find it?
Yeah, when the
gun, the fish,
and the stringer hooked to the gun,
swimming around on the bottom. We run the stringer through the eyes of the fish.
He shot a big old amberjack.
They're dragging the string around on the bottom, so the whole thing, his gun, everything, he just left it down there. And they picked it up and went back down.
He knew he was dirty. He's like, he looked up, saw that boat, and Odell was like, nope. Just said, I'll buy a new spear gun, a new springer. Nope.
He turned his eye. I don't know nothing. I don't know nothing about that.
So that was the day that the old Marine Patrol got to meet the Kraken.
Yeah. He always...
Or the Kraken.
Yeah.
I was hoping I wouldn't have to have a male experience.
Yes.
But if you want to end on a
give one more story, and then we'll get to come back with a part two.
We were on a cruise. Well, and this was probably we've done 30 together, I guess. And we're on a cruise, and Dave, I come out in the hallway, and Dave is standing in the hallway, butt ass naked, with a washcloth in front of him. I'm like, what the hell? So the cleaning lady, they had gone back, and we're giving her a hard time. So anyway, she had taken his towel,
So it was like, you take a towel, I would take something off her car. It was me and her were having a good time, you know.
But him coming out there butt ass naked, standing in the hallway of that cruise ship was a little bit much. But he's standing there butt ass naked with that little towel in front of him, at her, trying to get her cart to get something. I'm like,
no. What led to that was she took all the toilet paper.
Yeah.
And I ain't noticed. And I'm in there and I, did my thing. And I was like, oh crap, there's no toilet paper. Like, and I'm not getting in the shower on a cruise ship and washing my butt. There's no way, because there's physics. And so I was like, damn. So I called down to the front and I'm like, hey, I need to get some shitter paper. And the lady's like, oh, you need a sheet of paper?
No, realize the people on cruise ships don't speak English.
Yeah. Oh no, I know. I've been there. Yes.
And I'm like, no, I need a sheet of paper. And she's like, okay, sheet of paper. And I was like, no, ma'am. I took a big one and I need some shitter paper to wipe my butt with. And she was like, oh. And anyway, next thing you know, some dude knocks on the door, right? And I'm butt naked, so I didn't have no, she took all the towels. There was no towels, there was nothing. There was a washcloth.
Nice.
We're talking 4 inches by 4 inch washcloth. Yeah. And I was like, I guess that's what I'm wearing. And so I didn't get there quick enough. And he was walking down the hallway. So I had that thing over here like this. And
Yeah.
I was butt ass naked on a cruise ship.
You
with
don't want to see
a
that.
washcloth.
Oh, I've already seen more of Kraken than I ever wanted to see of
I'm
Kraken.
surprised we didn't get, I mean,
Well, I was chasing that guy down the hallway because he had the toilet paper. I didn't know.
there's a few times we probably should have been kicked off a cruise ship, but I mean,
So anyway, call it toilet paper, not shitter paper, because they didn't know the difference.
they don't understand the English. They're not.
Anyway, so but we're pretty into this thing. So you want to do we'll have to come back and do a session
We'll
2.
have to do a part 2 or something.
28 years of diving, having a good time, and like I said, the longest relationship I ever had in my life.
Diving is
doesn't.
one of those recreational things that everybody can do. It doesn't matter if you're 10 years old or 80 years old. Everybody is enjoying it, and it's it is one of the best recreational times that I've ever got into. I've done everything: climb mountains, race cars, you name it. I've done it, but nothing is compared to diving. It's just relaxing, fun. The people you travel with are great. It's been
Some of them are.
Yeah. Unless they're wearing a 4x4 washcloth.
Yeah, washcloth.
But it makes a great story, and that I say, okay, I'm never going to forget that, even though I'd like to.
I just wonder what the people down the hallway were thinking, because all they see is my big butt and says "caught you looking" above my butt crack.
Yeah.
And I'm bare naked in this hallway.
Yeah.
Yeah, good times.
We didn't get kicked off.
No, we never got kicked off a cruise. We have got kicked out of a Walmart. We'll have to bring that story next time.
We'll talk about it next time.
Anyway, so thank you guys for listening. Cutter over here for getting everything set up. By the way, nice new set, Cutter. Thank you very much, man.
I just noticed our old logo. I have the new logo. I pulled up the wrong logo.
And you pulled up the wrong logo.
I know. I'm sorry.
It's all good.
I'm sorry.
Anyway.
Those were the good old days.
You remember when we had a radio show?
No. I look forward. I don't look back.
Oh, that's right.
Yes.
Anyway, thank you guys for tuning in to our podcast, the Kraken&Cutter podcast. No shoes, no job, no problem.
Definitely no job.
Yeah, we just still don't have a job.
Yes.
So if you're looking to hire somebody, we're pretty good. The ratings come out in a couple weeks, and we'll be number 1.
You will.
Number 1. Because if you ain't first, you last.
That's right. All right. Let's get out of here. Let's go.
Toodles. Where's the cat?
Still trying to get the cat.
We still don't have custody of the cat?
We are in legal battles over the cat. I can't really get into that.
All right, well, see you next time.